The Haunted One by Jack Nacon. Tommy pulls his truck into the parking lot of the Pueblo County, Colorado Animal Shelter, putting it in park and leaning back against his seat. He lets the radio play as he stares at the front door, debating, for the third time since he left the IHOP, if this was a good idea. And once again, his sister's voice puts an end to it. "You're getting a dog," Holly declared, jabbing up a forkful of fried egg and popping it in her mouth with an easy, perky motion. "You can go to the shelter today. I'll call and let them know their favorite volunteer's baby brother is coming in right over and treat him extra specially nice." She grinned and made like she was going to pinch his cheek. Tommy frowned. "I don't really need..." She cut him off. "Tommy." He frowned a bit deeper. "Thompson. At 41, do you think we could drop the cute nickname?" Holly seemed to consider this as she sips orange juice. "No. Tommy, this isn't an argument." "Not yet," he snorted, sipping his coffee. "You're getting a dog because you're heading up into the mountains by yourself on one of your insane back to nature, get my head together, manly man trips, ooga booga." Tommy, he couldn't even call himself Thompson in his own head, sighed. Louise always hated animals in the house. His sister pushed right on through. "Perfect! An act of compassionate payback against your ex-wife. You get a loving companion, a dog gets a loving home, and you can let it sleep on that ugly-ass rug she loved so much. You can even name it after her." He thought about that and smiled softly. "Get a male, I could call him Louie." Holly almost laughed OJ out her nose. She coughed and giggled and then got serious. "Just do me a favor. Maybe look for a dog who's been there a while. It's a no-kill shelter, but some of them have been there a long time." Sure, I'll keep that in mind." Tommy nodded, knowing that it meant that much to her. Well, he had to at least look, right? "Great," she perked. "Ask for Noelle or Freddie. I'm not sure who's there on Thursdays." And this is how he found his hand on the door, pushing through the door, as the chime sounds his entry. The door to the rear opens a second later, and a ponytailed head pops out. "Be right with you." It vanishes again, and he leans against the counter. He's looking for a chair, but barely turned his head before the rear door opened again, and the head reappeared with a body attached. "Hi there, I'm Noelle. You must be Tommy. Holly said you'd be right in." Tommy winces at the name, but shakes the offered hand. "I'm looking for..." "Someone to join you at your cabin. Holly told me wants to make sure you find the perfect furry friend for you." She lifts the counter flap and ushers him in. Tommy rolls his eyes as he follows her back. Holly always made sure folks knew everything she felt they needed to know. "So what kind of dog were you thinking?" Noelle looks up at him with that eager look of someone ready to match anything he could think of. He clears his throat. "Well, I was thinking maybe a needy dog? Someone who's been here a while?" She grins. "Good answer. Come on." She leads him back toward the rear pens. "Everyone here has been a long-term stay. We have a little bio on each door to let you know what kind of fella or lady we have." He looks over the furry faces and hand-typed bios and finds himself fighting an unfamiliar urge to just take them all. Not only because there'd be no room left for him to sleep in his condo, but none of them looked like they could handle the rough country up by the cabin. "I know this sounds weird, but got anybody sturdy?" Noelle nods slowly. "Well, there's Mac." "Mac? Like a truck?" Noelle shrugs. "Kinda fits. He's been returned 6 times, but..." Tommy stops short in concern. 6? What do you mean 6 times? What was he getting into? "Honestly, I don't understand it myself. When he's here, he's incredibly sweet. Never gives trouble, eats his food, potties outside, barely barks. You'd swear he was professionally trained." Tommy cocks his head. "So why..." But rather than answer, almost as if she didn't hear the question, Noel simply opened the door and stepped back to present Mac. Tommy was no expert, but he was pretty sure the quiet, bejowled giant standing in front of him was both bigger than a motorcycle and sweet as could be. The tail behind him wagged cautiously at the sight of Tommy, and the huge wet nose sniffed the offered hand hopefully. "Hey, big fella," Tommy softly murmurs. The tail wags a bit harder. "Yeah, you're a good boy, huh? Oh, thank you for that." His hand is now full of mastiff drool and jowls, and the softest pair of eyes he's ever seen pleading up at him. "So, what you think?" Tommy jumps. He'd forgotten Noel was even there. For a moment it'd just been him and Mac. Gonna have to change that name. In the whole world. I think we got something. That tail fans the air as Noel cheers and claps her hands. Looking back into those eyes, Tommy silently swears, "I will never return you. You found your forever home, and I think I have too." The huge dog whines happily. Noel cheerfully moves him through his paperwork. Home situation, financials, Mac's medical records, all up to date on his shots, fixed. All this is still not one sign of why anyone would return such a quiet good boy. The mastiff sat like a statue beside him the whole time, and it was time to go. After a tearful goodbye from Noel, he trotted on the leash like a show dog. Outside the shelter, Tommy marvels at the dog's behavior. "You're a quiet one, aren't you, boy?" Sudden clatter but near the trash can by the curb brings a series of cannon-like barks that not only made the human jump, but set the raccoon in the trash racing for the next state. Spoke too soon. He looks down at the still barking mastiff and sternly says, "Hush!" Instantly, Louis falls quiet, looking up at him with curiosity. Tommy laughs. "Oh, Noel said you were trained." He shakes his head. "Whoever returned you must be nuts." He couldn't figure any other explanation. He opens the door to the back seat and the dog hops right in. No hesitation, no whining, ready to go. Tommy chuckles as he climbs into the driver's seat. "All right, big boy, fill up for a road trip and a camping adventure?" He looks up into the rear view, glancing at Louis. Really does fit quite nicely. And for a split second, he swore someone else was sitting in the back seat with his dog. He whips his head around, but all there is Louis, and a big old lick in the face. The highway was pretty clear for that time of day. Quick stop for a pallet of dog food and a well-deserved potty break, and they were on their way in no time. Once they turned off the highway, the road slowly became less and less civilized. Pretty soon the truck was kicking up dust and pebbles, and Louis, now happily in the passenger seat, was watching deer and squirrels flash past, with happy whines and thumping tail. Tommy grins, hating to admit it, but Holly was right. They arrived late, the sun barely peering over the mountains. There was just enough light along with the headlights of the truck to open the cabin door and get Louis and a few essentials inside. He'd grab the rest in the morning. Right now they were both exhausted. After a quick pass through the cabin for some dog proofing and putting away anything the landlord left out, Tommy grabbed the couch with Louis on the rug next to it. They sleep well that night, except for one moment. At around 3 a.m., Tommy wakes thinking he heard something. But Louis, his stalwart protector, was snoring softly beside him, apparently unperturbed by anything. Possums. He mutters, tugging his blanket higher and drifting off again. Morning blazes harshly through the open curtains, causing both occupants to squint against the rays. Tommy sits up, stretches, and looks down where Louis is peering eagerly back up at him. "Need to pee, boy?" "I sure as heck do." He leads the dog out back to do his business. Morning needs taken care of, they head out to the truck and start unloading. Fishing pole, check. Lures and baits, check. Shotgun, check. Box of shells, check. Case of Franken beans, check. Coffee, big old check. This went on for a few minutes until all the supplies were carried in and put away, from the bottled water to the stack of teepee to the mass of dog food. Enough for anyone planning to spend 2 weeks in a cabin in the mountains. After opening a few windows to let the autumn air take the dust out of the place, the pair sit down to a hearty breakfast of whatever can comes to hand first. Tommy looks down at the two bowls, one with chili con carne, and the other with beef chow in its own gravy. The sad part, boy, is I can barely tell which is which. Oh well. Eat up, Louie boy. He passes the bowl down and chuckles as the huge mouth plows into it. After breakfast, the pair heads for the side of the cabin to check the firewood situation. The pile of split logs was enough for a couple of days, but at least the unsplit were stacked high, a month's worth at least. Tommy grabs his gloves and the wood axe and gets to work. After a few splits, he's already sore, seriously out of practice. He bends down to grab another log and freezes. From the corner of his eye, he swore he saw someone or something dash through the tree line, only a short distance from where he stood. An eerie thrill races up his spine, heart kicking up a notch as he forces himself to straighten up, wishing he'd brought the shotgun out with him. "Louie," he calls quietly, catching the dog's attention from where he's happily rolling in the leaf-littered grass. Tommy hesitantly turns, eyes scanning the trees for any other signs of movement. Around him, the forest chirps, whistles, and croaks, as though nothing odd had just occurred. A few moments pass, and he sighs, collecting the wood. "Come on, bud. Let's head in and get ready for some fishing, yeah?" It's just they're at the front door when a branch snaps sharply, exactly where he'd seen the shape earlier. He stares into the empty space between the trees, while Louie calmly sits at the front door. With a slight scowl, Tommy opens the door, closing it behind them, then peeking out the nearest window. Screw this, they're going fishing. The feeling of something's off kept bothering him as he packs his gear and tackle, loading it and Louie into the truck. The drive to the lake, at least, puts him more at ease. "Look at those colors, boy." He grins as Louie sits happily beside him, doggy grin on his face. "No place like this anywhere else. I don't care what anyone says." Every once in a while he'd catch a glimpse of movement, but it was always something he could identify quickly. Deer drinking by a creek, hawk diving to catch, or not, something in the leaf litter, tree branches shaking in the wind. By the time they reached the water, he was actually feeling calm. This time of day there was always someone else out by the lake. The idea of having someone else to talk to besides Louie, of course, was something he was looking forward to. When they finally pulled to a stop, Tommy's hopes fell. The lake looks mostly deserted, a few distant figures on the far shore the only signs of life. He considered giving them a shout, but it was probably too late, too far to hear, and they look like they're packing up in any case. Well, damn. "Come on, boy, we came all this way. Might as well see if we can hook some dinner." Louie hops down and sniffs about for interesting things to mark territory on, while his human sets up a sight and starts casting. In truth, the lake really was peaceful, and Tommy finally settles down enough to do some real fishing. His luck seems to be good, reeling in a few nice-sized trout and even a big catfish. "Eating good tonight, Louie?" he chuckles, watching the dog splash merrily nearby. As the sun sinks, they start packing. The mountain roads can be tricky in the dark, and Tommy was already tired. As he loads the last of the gear and the fish, he turns to call for Louie and pauses. In the light of the setting sun, it almost looks like someone standing next to Louie, a human figure that wasn't quite there. "Louie, come on!" Tommy calls out in sudden concern, even as the figure vanishes with the last rays. The second Louis is in his seat, Tommy bolts for the driver's door and throws himself inside, firing up the engine and pulling off back toward the cabin, remembering to turn on the headlights as tires kick up a plume of dirt. He's pretty sure he missed several trees and 3 boulders by inches, and stops the truck barely a foot from the cabin's porch. Hands shaking, he gets out of the truck and lets Louis inside. Cautiously, he steps back out into the still-lit headlights. For the second time this trip, he felt the need to leave them on, as he retrieves the fish from the truck bed. He's been at this cabin so many times before, yet this is the first time he's ever felt the need for the extra light from the headlamps. Turning them off to go back inside feels risky, an almost overpowering sense of unease bearing down on him. He breathes a little easier once inside, the doors safely locked. He wonders if he's being ridiculous. If he's this rattled, maybe he's just pack up and head home. He glances at his wristwatch. Close to 8:30. No. Too late to start packing now. Even if we were going to leave, too late to hit the switchbacks in the dark. He sighs, though smiles when Louis nuzzles his hand. Maybe a good dinner and a good night's sleep, huh, buddy? The huge tail wags, and Tommy sets to cleaning the fish. As he works, little things start bothering him. Utensils and spices keep moving from where he left them. Books and boots keep falling over. And at one point, the radio he hadn't even turned on yet seems to hum and whisper. Leaning on the counter, waiting for the oil to heat, Tommy chews his lip. Okay, what the hell, he mutters. I've rented this place several times, and you're telling me now I'm getting haunted? He snorts a laugh, imagining telling Holly that, oh yeah, sorry, we're home early because of ghosts. And her response of, really, that's your excuse? He looks over at Louis, stretched out on his new favorite rug, and grins. Lucky dog, nothing bothers you, huh? The grin becomes a laugh when that tail thunks the floor like a hammer. After a moment to add the fish to the pan, he turns back, feeling more serious. You'd protect me if something got in here, wouldn't you, boy? Louis sits up, tail still wagging, but with a face that says, huh? Tommy laughs. Yeah, real inspiring there. The fish is delicious, and Louis has no complaints about his beef hearts in gravy. And afterward, Tommy plops down on the couch, surprising even himself by turning on the TV. He has the generator and the solar, sure, but these trips were about getting away from it all. Still, after the day he'd had, he could use a touch of normal background, even if it's a late-night noise. Man-made noise that right now was more calming than the shadowy unknown past the door. After a short while, Tommy starts to drift, eyes sliding closed, only to snap open as something in the kitchen shatters. He hops up, turning to find Louis near the sink, looking guiltily down at broken glass. Whoa, back up, come here. You don't want you stepping on that. Tommy soothes as he grabs the whisk broom and cleans up. What's up, buddy? Trying to sneak a midnight snack? He smiles, then notices the almost worried look on the dog's face. Tommy grabs a handful of kibble and holds it out to Louis to munch. Hey, don't worry, big guy. It's just a bit of glass. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, you're a good boy, huh? He smiles again, and at that tail slowly picks up speed. I think it's time to get some real shut-eye. He takes the Mastiff out for his nightly duties, then once everyone's inside and every lock is in place, closes up for the night, brushes his teeth, and all but collapse on the overstuffed bed. This was the good stuff. After a long moment, he rolls over and pats the mattress. Come on, boy, up, up. After a moment of hesitation, the huge paws hit the bed and haul the full weight of Louis up by his human. That's a boy. I think we could both use the company. The dog whines happily as he circles at the foot of the bed and settles in, leaving Tommy to snuggle deeper into the covers. Sleep overtakes him, drifting almost instantly. The next morning's sunrise was much kinder than the previous, the closed curtains softening the light. Tommy was tempted to sleep in, but Louis scratching the door, and his own bladder, made it clear that was not going to happen. A quick trip outside, quick shower, and the cabin soon has that smoky bacon smell, with the promise of eggs to follow. Speaking of following, Tommy glances out the window, remembering the dark shape he'd seen there twice now. Someone was watching him. He could feel it. Going outside felt like a bad move. There's something, he mutters, shaking his head. He looks back at Louis, currently sniffing around for dropped bacon. You know, Louis, my friend, I think we'll skip the lake today. Could both use the rest. And I do have a book or two I might try to tackle. How's that sound to you? The huge innocent face comes up, maybe in agreement, probably to ask, bacon? I'll take that as a yes, Tommy laughs, fixing the dog his own plate before cracking some eggs. The rest of the day was a lot of things, but restful it was not. It seems like every time Tommy takes his eyes off Louis, something is getting knocked over, broken, burnt, or ripped. It was almost like some destructive magic trick. Now you see it, a la kawoof. Now it's in pieces. Every time, Louis' hangdog expression forestalls a scolding. But when something big shatters in the bedroom, Tommy groans and stomps his way in. There's Louis, staring at the floor, tail so tucked so tucked under him it's non-existent. You know, boy, I'm starting to see why people return. He trails off at the side of the floor. Every time he rented this place, he made sure anything that wasn't his, that might be valuable or breakable, was in a safe place. The broken object in question was an old washing bowl that looked older than Tommy was, and had to weigh at least 5 or 6 pounds. As such, he'd always make sure it was safely up on the top shelf, in a cupboard, in the bedroom. A distance that even he couldn't reach if he stood on tiptoe. Tommy sits on the bed and slowly strokes Louis' head, speaking softly. I don't know what's going on here, Lou, but unless you're an acrobat, you didn't break that bowl. He keeps petting, looking down at him. We got shadows in the woods, random destruction inside. I'm more stressed out here than I was when Louise left. This ain't a vacation anymore. Hope you're ready, big guy, because we're getting out of here. We're going home. Louis is glued to his side as Tommy starts gathering their stuff, piling it by the door. It was mid-afternoon now, so Tommy planned for them to leave first thing in the morning. Part of him wants to leave now, but can't shake the feeling of something outside, waiting for the sun to set. The thought makes him unpack the shotgun again, making sure both barrels are clear before slipping shells into his coat pocket. He closed the breech and clicked the safety, cradling it against his side. Dinner that night was canned meat for Tommy and, well, canned meat for Louis. Both cold, but neither cared. Tommy drifts to the recliner near the front door. The bedroom felt too confined. Besides, he doubted he'd be sleeping tonight anyway. All he wanted to do was load the truck and get out of there, and that needed daybreak. The shotgun lay on his lap, Louis at his feet, and against his own desire, he begins to drift, sleep from exhaustion. Bang! Tommy and Louis both yelp, the sound impossible to tell apart, as the back door by the kitchen rattles on its hinges. Bang! Splinters fly as the lock tries in vain to hold back whatever attacks it. Tommy scrambles with the shotgun and the shells in his pocket. Back door, coming in the back door. Come on, come on. He finally snaps the shotgun shut, shells in place. He jams the butt of the weapon against his shoulder tight and peers down the sight into the barely lit kitchen. Lights flicker in all the rooms, though Tommy'd swear he'd turned them all off before he sat down. The heavy wooden door explodes inward with a sound between a roar and a tornado. The first shot goes wide, exploding the kitchen chair into kindling. Something large and filled with rage charges through the opening, barreling through the kitchen toward Tommy. Tommy can feel Louis pressed silently at his hip as he squeezes the second trigger, the second barrel of buckshot flashing into the thing. Its howl takes on a new tone of anger and disbelief, as though whatever it is can't believe Tommy would have the gall to shoot it. It surges forward again, and Tommy cries out as the shotgun is ripped from his hands, the butt striking his chin before sailing through a window and into the night. Tommy ducks a kitchen knife and part of the chair. The winds howl, notes, scream, a shriek of rage that claws at his ears as glass shatters and metal bends. A fishing lure slices past his cheek as he tries to see what the figure in the center of the chaos is. It's human-shaped, but that was all he could say for it. It seemed to be shaped out of dust, debris, and, well, dark. Just moving shadow that somehow manages to hold itself together and glare. "My dog! My dog! My dog!" The phrase is punctuated by projectiles, a frying pan, a book, the fireplace brush, all launched by the raging poltergeist. As a spatula rips a gash across his shoulder, Tommy's sure he's gonna die. This thing, this spirit wants him gone. The front door has been half ripped open by the creature itself. Maybe he could crawl. No. He's never gonna make it if that thing's aiming for him. Damn it. "Louis! Outside, boy! Go outside!" He screams the words, trying to be heard over the hurricane of hatred. If he wasn't going to survive this, at least his big buddy could. Borf! Cannon fire. Borf! Thunder in a clear sky. Tommy rolls over painfully, staring at the unbelievable sight before him. Louis, his big, brave, sweet, beautiful boy, places himself between his now human and the thing that was once his human. And he barks. He barks loud and angry, and with all the power of every canine guardian since the first cave wolf. The air goes still. There's a great crash as everything flying suddenly loses momentum and plummets to the floor. Before Tommy's eyes, the shadow slowly loses form. A young man wavers in the thin light, staring at Louis with wide, sad eyes. "Never barked at me before?" An unfamiliar voice drifts through the dust. The eyes turn to stare at Tommy, and as the silence stretches before him, "Take care of him, please." The figure fades slowly, leaving only the thrashed cabin as proof it ever existed. Louis hurries over to Tommy and begins whining and licking his face. The man's shaking hand slowly comes up to pet that huge, wonderful head as he finally finds his voice again. "Good boy, Louis. You're a good boy." He stares at the mass of broken furniture, shattered hangings, and random bloody debris. How is he going to explain this to the landlord? With a sigh, he scritches Louis between his ears. "Next year, buddy, I'm thinking the beach. You like that?" Yeah, me too. Such a good boy." As the sun slowly rises. The Haunted One.